all know with the signs that we see and the campaign that's been launched, how much we value this hospital, how important it is to the fabric of this community. And I'm honored to be here today to talk to you in what I hope won't be the only announcement of this year in 2023, but the first of many to come on an exciting path for better patient-centered care in this community. We've, as a government, will be announcing today a plan for healthcare that focuses on three pillars: the right care in the right place, faster access to care, and hiring more healthcare workers. The Premier and Minister will be announcing that today, which is underpinned by an increase in healthcare funding of $14 billion in the province of Ontario. It's matched up by an understanding that it's not just about bricks and mortar, as much as we all appreciate here the need for new bricks and mortar. It's also about investing in staff and increased supports for nursing staff. In fact, today it's really exciting to see a record number of 30,000 nurses in training in the province of Ontario and over 10,000 new nurses registering, the highest number in decades in the province of Ontario this year. It also includes increased residency training with a brand new medical school in the province of Ontario and expanded residency training seats for doctors and exciting nearby schools like Queen's University and so many more. The province also recognized that through the pandemic, you've been all through so much. We have an incredible team of healthcare workers. And I think it's fair to say that through the pandemic, we've learned a lot. Government will be the first to say, and I'll be the first to say, you don't get everything right, but understanding that leaning on and working with healthcare professionals across the province of Ontario, we're confident that we can ensure a better decade to come and invest in the necessary investments to ensure better patient care delivery tomorrow. So with that, I'm proud to announce today the largest investment in decades in this riding, the largest investment in CMH in decades, and certainly the largest investments that I've had the honor of making on behalf of the Government of Ontario in Campbellford Memorial Hospital. So I'm proud to announce today an investment of $13 million into Campbellford Memorial Hospital to invest in infrastructure improvements and other funding for this hospital. It's going to include investments of almost $10 million towards CMH and one-time capital funding to address the HVAC and generator we all are so sorely needed. $1.8 million for reimbursements of COVID-related expenses in the challenging time we've all been through over the past number of years. $771,000 in incremental operating funding to support increased pressures related to COVID-19. Up to $600,000 in funding to support the hospital's in-year financial and operating pressures, and $163,000 in pandemic prevention and containment. There's this incredible announcement today really speaks to the work that's been done here and in this community. I think to some successful meetings we've had over the past 2 weeks with long-term care, with the Minister of Health, really talking about the investments that have been needed. I'd like to thank CEO Eric Hanna and the board and John and everybody who's been such a strong voice to government over the challenging past number of years, and refreshing to see a real focus on the investments that are needed. As we make exciting progress on our plan for a brand new campus of care in Campbellford, it's important to recognize and not to leave behind all of you and this facility as we look towards that exciting new campus. And we need to make those investments today. And this team and all of you have rightly and squarely focused on the needs to ensure high quality patient-centered care. And I'm very grateful that you've done that, and that working together with Ministry of Health, we can make the funding investments necessary to support this community. So with that, I'd like to offer, again, a profound thanks to the staff and to the leadership here at the hospital for the work that you do. I'm excited over the coming years to come of what's going to happen, and not so a distant future over the excitement, that we're working on and advocating for a brand new campus of care. And with that, a special thank you to Jim and the Crow family, who I know are here today. Jim, thank you for believing in this community, for that generous investment. It matters, and I want you all to know, I know that politicians and government don't work as fast as we all want government to work. I'll be the first to say that. But over the past number of months, we have turned up the pressure and advocated in, quite frankly, a manner that needs to be done to warrant and to get a planning grant for a campus of care. It's been needed to be done. It hasn't happened in this community until very recently, where we've come together as a community and we're on everybody's radar. And I'm very excited of what that means. We've made a very strong case to the ministry, and I know as we engage in our multi-year planning process, you're in everybody's minds, and most importantly, in our hearts as well. So thank you for the work that you're doing. I'm very excited with today's announcement and this investment in this incredible hospital and in the incredible people that bring this place to life. So thank you for having me here today. It's an honor to be here with all of you. Thank you.
This building right here, and our patient floor is 70 years old. We have made, and David's right, we have made an excellent case for redevelopment, and we'll just continue to push forward, and I appreciate the support from each and every one of you. From my perspective, having been pushing this big rock up the hill for close to 8 or 9 years now, and it's been, sometimes Catherine and I look at each other and say, we gotta keep this thing moving, but in the meantime, you have to continue to invest in the building, and that's why we're out there fundraising for new equipment that we often joke comes on wheels, and some of it will be moved over to a new site that we hope will happen sooner rather than later. So thank you very much, David, for your support and your kind words. Right now, I would like to introduce our interim CEO and president, Eric Hanna. Eric? Oh.
We've described it as other things as well, but we'll be polite to say advocacy to make it happen. And the case has to be heard, and without your ongoing efforts, we go on sort of deaf ears. And so that's really, really important, and we owe a great deal of gratitude for you for that. We talk a little bit about, what are some of the things that we are looking at investing the money in, and the first one was the generator. And I remember, as you folks all know, we've had these power storms that have gone through, and they wipe out all the hydro grid. And I've got the wee little generator up at the lake, and then I'm thinking, well, everything should be going well at the hospital. And you get a call from the person on charge and said, well, guess what, Eric? Generator didn't start. Oh, so what does that mean? There's no power in the hospital. And that's happened a couple of times in the past year. The generator is over 30 years old. And people will say, well, what's it take to put in a new generator? The issue is, you can go buy the generator, and that may be about $1 million, but then when we found out afterwards, we came to hook up the new generator to the electrical distribution system and said, it won't work with that. Because you know what, your electrical distribution system is 1956. You can't plug in today's generator into that. So now, guess what, we're putting in close to $5 million into a whole electrical distribution system, and so that the generator will work. So as part of that ongoing thing of working with an infrastructure that's that old, and so that's why these costs continue to go up. Same type of thing on the HVAC system. It's a contract close to $7 million to replace that. This wing, for example, there's no fresh air in this wing. It hasn't worked in here for 15 years. Now this is administrative areas, and the concern was that in some of the patient care areas, it wasn't working either. And so having those discussions then with David and saying, we have to correct this. And we will prioritize, and we will be careful with spending the money and saying where is it most required, especially in patient care areas. And so some of the things we will not do because we are very confident that we will get a new campus of care. But in the meantime, keeping patients safe is what we need to do. And so it's a big investment in this HVAC system, but it's not fixing everything. That would have been $10 million more, something like that. But it is fixing the HVAC systems as it pertains to the emergency department, lab, diagnostic imaging, etc. Those areas will all have a new HVAC system, because in some cases, in the case of the kitchen, it hasn't worked in 7 years. So that's the strategy, and that's the teamwork that I have with David, is saying, like, let's be careful what we spend the money on, but spend it where you need to spend it. And that collaboration is really, really important. But more important, I guess, that I'm really proud about is the sign that's behind you. Accreditation happens every 5 years, and I can say that the last time that it happened here, we passed. But I got to tell you right now, what we got this about a week and a half ago, we got the top marks. In fact, we had 99% of the standards met, and that's just exceptional. And I want to say thank you. I want to, when I looked at it's a thick report that came through, but some of the comments that came in. So the people that come through to do this evaluation. There's somebody like myself, I used to be a surveyor as well, and you go around to different places. I always picked the places that I wanted to travel to. So I went to Yellowknife, I went to Newfoundland, and I went to interior BC, and I said, okay, that's great, I'm done surveying, now I've seen the country. Most people, though, you just get asked to go where you want to go. But you as a hospital person, and you know what you're looking for on these standards, right? And you're there to be critical of things, but also to commend where things are working very well. And some of the comments that came back, I think, really go a long way in giving the community confidence that we are doing what we can do to provide the highest level of care. And so some of the things that they commented upon, they said that we've created a comprehensive quality improvement framework, and that we have an updated, rigorous emergency response plan. And looking at the mayor, you're probably saying, that's good. I'm glad to hear somebody's got a rigorous emergency response plan, because of all the places that we want to say we're good, that's it. These guys came in, took a look at the plan, and I know we had to do quite a bit of upgrades to it, and they said, you passed, and you passed with flying colors. Our patients and their family are directly involved in the care and decision making. And that's really, really important. Yes, we have a team, but the team that provides the care is the patient and the caregiver as well. And they noted that, and they saw evidence of how that can occur. We have in place an opportunity to provide patient feedback, and when we get the feedback, that we respond to that and make corrections based on the patient feedback. So very, very focused upon hearing that voice of the patient. And one of the ways that we do that is through the Patient Family Advisory Council. And just yesterday, for example, we are doing a refresh on the first floor. It's a coat of paint, so no, we're not fixing and making all the washrooms wheelchair accessible that we know we should, but at least now the plaster is not falling off the wall and everything is freshly painted. But when the Patient Family Advisory Council was up there yesterday and they were doing the tour, and they actually commented upon where the signs should be, the size of the font, etc. So we're bringing them in and actually engaging them before we make a decision. Sometimes what you do is you make a decision on what you want the new building to look like, and you go to the Patient Family Advisory Council and said, just letting you know we did this. No, that's not the way how you engage these people. What you want to do is, before you've actually got it all done, you bring them and saying, we're thinking of improving the signage. What do you think we need to do? Should it be this high or that high? Should the font be this color or that color? And we've done that, and my hat's off to the staff here who have accepted that philosophy of saying, we want to hear from you, and we're not too far down the path that we'll be able to accept that. And the surveyors, as I said, commented upon that. It's the staff, though, that are the people that are achieving these particular standards. There were over 1,600 measurable standards that we had to do. And as a CEO, it's a very humbling experience to stand before you and said, you know what, we only missed 20 standards out of 1,600. That was it, 20. And there are a couple of standards in there that were difficult to achieve, but the other ones that I can tell you that we did not achieve, the team is working on trying to address those as soon as possible, and more importantly, make sure that we don't go backwards. On this, there's always it's always a team, and the team needs to be led by somebody to make this happen, to achieve this high standard. And I would like to personally recognize Nicole Wood, who is our Vice President of Patient Care and Chief Nursing Officer. Nicole, thank you for doing that. Nicole's like me, she's very goal-driven, right? And so if you said to her, what were you planning on getting with accreditation? Well, that's fine, exemplary. I mean, that's who we are, right? I'm not average, no, I'm exemplary. And Nicole, you did it. And I know, though, if you were up here, you'd say, yeah, I did it, but I couldn't do it without the help of them. And I know you would say that, but for me to saying, yeah, but you had to convince them that this is a priority and we need to get at it. So thank you very, very much for doing that. I think when I said, well, there was a few standards that we did not achieve, there are a couple of them that deal with the building, but I mean, the good news is that they said, the surveys said that they noted that there were significant issues with the physical facility, issues that we acknowledged, and more importantly, they said, but you're doing something about. So whether or not you're going and you're working with David or working with the capital branch and securing funding, or whether or not you've got a longer term vision of creating a campus of care, and they said that's good, because you don't want to be sitting back and saying, well, your building is falling apart, and meanwhile you're just waiting for a new hospital. We can't do that, and so they acknowledged that. But there were a couple of things though that they did cite, and so when they said, well, we missed 20 of them, David, the good news is you just took 2 of them off, because one of them says that you didn't have an appropriate HVAC system. So thank you for that. Check. We got that one done, Nicole. And the other one that they said is that your diagnostic imaging department, where your CT scan is and all that kind of stuff, it should be hooked up to a generator. Well, our current generator is too small. You couldn't plug in the, well, I guess you don't plug in a CT scan, but you know what I mean? It's not wired up. Guess what? We will have that as well. So that's 2 of them right there that with your investment today, you know, we're getting even closer to 100%. And we, you know, these are CSA standards and things like that, so that's why it's important. There are a couple other physical constraints as well that we don't have right now, such as the ED department doesn't have a negative pressure room. There are insufficient amounts of private rooms, etc. I can tell you that I'm working with the team here to look at trying to have those things resolved as well, because again, as David has encouraged us, you need to continue to make the renovations here that are required before we move into that new building. I don't want to be saying we'll have to close the hospital again because we have a COVID outbreak. Well, what do you need to do? We need to create more private rooms. So we are working on a plan to go forward with that again. And as again, I said that we have the full support of David in saying we've got a long-term vision of a new hospital. Well, it's not long-term, midterm, even less than that. But still in the meantime, we need to continue to make these improvements. So we will continue to do that. I think that you know, when we do these type of things, and then you get the commendation from Accreditation Canada to say it's about the bricks and mortar, but it's also about the team here. And so again, just to say that it's a full team that is making sure that we achieve all of these standards. That's an awful lot of them, 1,600 of them, and it's very, very rigorous about what they look at. There were 3 people here for 2 days. And then a day of wrap up as well. So that's an awful lot of tours and meeting with different people. And the other people that they did meet as well with was the board of directors, and the board of directors passed with flying colors as well. I remember after we finished it, they said, a couple of the board members said, how do we do? I said, I think pretty good. I didn't get any comments to say you had any gaps. So you guys, and for those of you who may not know, but you can prepare for these type of things, right? So you know what the questions are they're going to ask. And so these guys as the board, they did dress rehearsals and sort of said, we need to be able to say we did this, this, and this. It's not, it's just really just, you need to be proud of what you're doing because you're achieving all these standards. So it's right, as you said, David, right from the frontline workers, right through to the administration, through to the board of directors, through to the physicians, the involvement of the patients, and everybody coming together. That's why we've got the exemplary status. So I'm very, very proud of that, and I will conclude there. For that, it has helped to some extent with pieces of minor equipment, etc., some additional training, those type of things. But our biggest issue right now is that the physical space upstairs doesn't allow us to shut doors and have negative pressure rooms, etc., those things. So that's a bigger piece of the investment, and that's what I'm saying. There will be a submission that will go into the ministry in the not too distant future to saying how can we create that type of environment. We are better off than what we were, but there still is a strong likelihood that if there is another outbreak like we had with COVID, we will be asked to close again. And then that means either people have to stay in the emergency department or they will have to be shipped off to another hospital.
Thank you.
Eric, just while you're at the microphone there, the hospital has received credit with exemplary standing many times before?
It achieved exemplary status about 10 years ago, and then the survey that was done 5 years ago, it was not, it was accredited. So it happens, you know, and it's not unusual, but it's an awful lot of work to get there. I think all of us would say we strive to get it. You don't have to have 100%, you can see, right? We missed a couple, but if you miss like 35 or something like that, it's kind of like, nope, you're down to the next tier.
And this is good for how long?
Good, well, they've changed it now. It used to be good for 4 years, but they like the experience so much, Nicole, they're gonna come every year now. Oh, yeah, I know. See, that's why I'm going back into retirement. I don't need that. But I think what's gonna happen, and if I understand it correctly, it's a brutal couple of days. Like I said, these poor guys are running all around. They'll spend 3 hours in the emergency department, then they go spend 3 hours over here and 3 hours, like, I mean, they're just going around like this. And in the new case, they may just say to the CEO or to Nicole, we are coming in this year and we're gonna be looking at the emergency department and plant maintenance. That's it, yep. And then they'll come in the next year and they may do the medical inpatient unit and say food services. So they're just trying to spread it out, which I think is good, because one of the things that happens, it's kind of like even getting ready for a hospital audit. It happens on March 31st. Well, you get everything all nice and ready to go by March 31st. Well, what happened on August 31st? Well, there's no audit going on. You know what, things can slide a little bit. And I think the same type of thing can happen in accreditation. It shouldn't, but honestly, sometimes it does. And so now by having somebody come out every year, you've got more of an obligation to not let it slide and just hurry up and get it done in year number 4. I think it's a really good move, and I think it will give you more of a chance to learn and be better in a real-time basis, as opposed to waiting until that 4-year period.
I have a question for David. You mentioned earlier, David, what applying pressure on the government to come up with the decision on the planning grant. Now, is there anything whether you and the hospital can do, or what explanation are you being given as to why there is this delay, or is it normal course of things the way this is being handled?
Well, I think the pandemic has shown that you don't, it's not just about the future. You have to be investing in the here and now. I mean, anything could happen tomorrow, the next day, so you have to be ready. And the challenges are, I think everybody's aware of inflation and what's happened last year. The difference is, you know, if we're talking something that was $10 goes to 11, if you're looking at $10 billion in capital expenditures that have already been committed, what is the new number, you know? So I think everybody realizes that extra $1 billion has to come somewhere, and recognizing that, you know, the government has 50 hospital projects underway right now, 50. And the cost with contractors, the cost of material, drywall, like everything is gone up substantively. So I think we've seen in the past where previous governments have, you know, for political expediency, have made commitments that writing checks that they couldn't cash. Premier and this government's not going to do that, and we're going to be honest with Ontarians and what we can and cannot do. And we have 50 projects today, and you know, communities that deserve to see their projects get done and deserve that timeline. When we talk about timelines, we're working with municipalities, consolidated linear infrastructure, municipal class environmental assessment. We're building long-term care homes and hospitals in record time. And in record speed in this province. So I'm very optimistic. We're in the budget planning process now, in an inflationary year, but it also is a push. Like, this isn't, you know, we don't live in a country where just a wink and a nudge to a politician gets you everything you want. I mean, sometimes I wish it might be a bit easier that way, but in all seriousness, it's got to be a team effort. We never made AMO delegations. We have now. We never made the Roma delegations, meeting with the ministers. We have now. Municipalities join forces. The communities come out in a way that we've never seen with the campaigns. We've got Rotarians supporting. The board are having meetings. When we're done that meeting, we're saying, who else can we meet with? And we're really getting in front of everyone. That's how it's got to be done. You know, that's how Vaughan got done. That's how others. You know, just look at their council minutes. Look at conversations they've had. So our community is behind this in a really meaningful way. I'm very excited. I can tell you, I'm having conversations that I just haven't had before with the Ministry of Health, and we're on their radar. They've come and visited this hospital. They've seen the exemplary service that's provided here, and so I'm very optimistic. But I just, you know, I want to be real with the people I serve. These are the pressures we're under. I sit at the cabinet table and see, and I'm, you know, fully supportive of the investments we're making in training and long-term care. And I think the confluence of needs here with the new long-term care development, the servicing to supporting new homes, and Eric's ability, which we just got yesterday, a very detailed report of here's what we could spend with a commitment to a new campus of care. Here's what we'll have to spend in absence of that. And that's been a very compelling piece that I can take to the ministry, which I already have done as of late last night. So, I'm very confident in where we're going, and I made that commitment that, this mandate, we're getting a new hospital here, and I fully intend to get that done.
You just want to ask, are you hopeful that will come in the next 3 to 6 months?
I wish I had a magic ball. I'm not stopping, and I'm very aggressive in our advocacy, and that's not going to stop. So.
Just a quick follow-up to that. Typically, planning grants take how long?
Well, we've seen in some instances planning grants take a decade to happen. I know I was speaking with my friend and the mayor in Niagara and our MPP down there. It's not going to take that long here. But that's worse. That's examples of the past. That's not going to happen here. I mean, we've brought this forward. We're advocating. And we had the full submission in, I think, about a year ago, was the full submission. The ministry came and visited a number of times, and and we're pushing. So I'm optimistic, very optimistic, and I'm optimistic because of all those other aspects of how we're getting shovels in ground faster, building the key infrastructure. I'm sick and tired of looking in the rearview mirror for growth. We're planning for tomorrow's growth, which means next generation. Have actually realized the opportunity to have a place to call home, a roof over their head, and people can have patient-centered care in the 21st century. Community paramedicine, we got that done. Investments here, we've got that done. Training new doctors, that's happening. New nurses, it's happening. New long-term care everywhere in our province, and that means a campus of care here, and so that's going to happen.
I think just quickly, the other thing that David, that you did as well, when we talk about ramping it up, thanks to the mayor, we had the discussion with the minister, and the last question when they said time's up, and I kind of, okay, you guys like 15 minutes, that's it. I said, I got one more question. I said, would you, minister, come out here for a visit? And her response was, I just need the invite from Minister Piccini. The next day, David sent the letter off, and I think we're looking good. So when you got like that, whereas before, I think she might have been saying, well, I don't know, like how important is this? So I think, as you said, David, that meeting went a long way of saying, you're on the radar now, and then honestly, I have to say, a year ago, we weren't. We are there now. So we're into a big final push. I'm optimistic it'll happen very, very soon. So we can make some of these decisions. Maybe we won't need to make all those renovations upstairs that I was saying we need to do. We will have to do some. We're not going to put patients at risk. But to have that minister said no, I'd be interested in coming out. That's great.
And I welcome the pressure. I mean, we need the pressure. I didn't get in this job, to get off easy or to get back rubs. I welcome the pressure, and this community is applying pressure, and that's what we need, because I know that when I get in a room, I'm flanked by thousands of people who may not be in the room, but that's who I'm behind. And so it gives me skip to my step and know that when I stand there, I'm flanked by thousands of people. This municipality punches well above their weight with this mayor and this council's leadership staff. I mean, they're getting things done in this community, and it's recognized. And this hospital team, the board right now, I mean, everything is really moving. And I couldn't be more grateful for this support, and I'm not gonna stop. And we have other colleagues in the vicinity. My colleague MPP he's behind this. Even colleagues in retirement, I know MPP Cramp's going to be paying a visit to the Premier soon as well. So I know so many, are behind this and advocating, and the Premier's aware as well. We've had these conversations. So, everybody's aware, and we're all in the process, because when we make a commitment to a planning grant, it's backed with the dollars to build a hospital. And, and I'm proud that we've done that as a government.
So are you getting back rubs?
Maybe at home.
Marriage is a good thing.
Yes, it is.